This one's from a couple of days ago, but I think it's still worth to highlight anyway, guys. A right-wing think tank is set to expand its network into the Labour Party. We're going to read into this more from openDemocracy, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from openDemocracy with the headline that a right-wing think tank is set to expand its network into the Labour Party. The Adam Smith Institute, which does not declare its UK funders, is set to announce a Labour peer as a patron. So, let's just straight off the bat, because obviously I did cover the Labour conference on live stream, and obviously we need to try and be optimistic about the future, and I know rightfully there is criticism of the Labour Party, and this is one that is definitely a cause for concern, because obviously when we have funders and we don't know what their real intentions are, and they're putting money within the opposition party, it's obviously something we should be a little bit concerned about. But I just want to make this point, is that right now our country is in shambles, and we do need a new party, and we do need a new government. Is Labour perfect? No. Are there questions? Absolutely. Questions that need to be answered. Are they known for doing U-turns as well? Yes, because I've criticised and pointed out the Labour Party on those points. And believe me, I will just as much be pointing it out too. Just like this story here is deeply concerning from the Labour Party. However, they are the best thing we have right now when it comes to getting rid of the Conservative Party. So it's important to emphasise that. So when it comes to the general election, and you have to choose a certain party, you make sure that whatever you're voting to get rid of the Conservative Party more than anything, because if it means that you've got to vote Lib Dem because the Lib Dems have the best chance of winning your seat, you vote for them. If it means you've got to vote Labour, you vote for Labour. Obviously, my position at the moment is I'm still planning on voting for the Green Party, but that position could change. But we also need to be optimistic about our future, because if we don't have any optimism, then what's the point? What is the point? So let's read into it anyway, guys. So I just wanted to make that point out there. But obviously, my position can change. People's opinions can change, just because one day I might be like, I'm not a Labour member, I'm not a Labour person, but I also understand that there are people that I've known and I've spoken to who truly want to change Labour for the right things and get them in the right direction, and hopefully they will do that. A right-wing think tank has said it will be expanding its network into the Labour Party and will announce one of its peers as a patron in the coming weeks. Speaking at a Labour Party conference fringe in Liverpool, Duncan Simpson, the executive director of the Adam Smith Institute, the ASI, excuse me, said it had been interested in some of Labour's new policies. A Labour MP has called the announcements concerning and said the peer, who has yet to be named, should think twice about working with the organisation, which does not declare its funders and receives the lowest possible transparency rating in openDemocracy of Who Funds You project. Speaking at the Growing Into Power event, Simpson said Labour's planning reform announcement had been looked on positively by the think tank. He did not name the peer that he's set to partner with, but he said he would be making an announcement in the next few weeks. Simpson said the think tank was delighted to be expanding its network into the Labour Party much more. The ASI, named after the 18th century Scottish tanker on capitalism, lobbies on issues such as deregulation and lower taxes. It has historic ties to the Conservative Party, influential policy under Margaret Thatcher, and more recently hiring former Chancellor Nadhim Zawari as director. It is reported to be partly funded by the tobacco industry as well as American climate denial groups. It is not in breach of the ministerial code to work with lobbying groups, but according to the Lord's Code of Conduct, peers must register their links to think tanks wherever financially or non-financially. When working with lobbyists, members must act with integrity and openness. MP Labour MP Clyde Lewis told Open Democracy the relationship raises questions about transparency and lobbying. So it sounds like here from one or two Labour MPs are concerned, and that's a good thing. I'm wondering what some Labour activists will feel about this as well. This is extremely concerning, especially if they have reportedly be funded by tobacco industries and climate denial groups. This is the kind of groups we don't want anywhere near the Labour Party, that is for sure. So Labour MP Clive Lewis said, I would question why a Labour MP would want to work with a right-wing organisation that has refused to be transparent about its funding sources. In a democracy, that transparency is critical for accountability in terms of how decision makers are being influenced, he said. The peer should think twice about the organisation they are thinking of signing up to. Lewis also said that he was worrying that organisations like the ASI were interested in being involved in the Labour Party because they want hands in both political parties' pockets so that they can have a sway in power forever. Because at the moment we're in a system where there's only two political parties that can have power, and if you've got your hands in both of them, you can do anything you want. There are a number of institutions that are now lining up and preparing for the adverts of a Labour government. He said they've been very happy throughout the past 13 years or the past 6 years to support some of the most right-wing governments we've seen in this country in a post-war period. And now they're hedging their bets and hoping they can influence the Labour government. It does raise questions about why these organisations now feel they're going to get a hearing suddenly, and that is concerning. Think tanks often have a presence at party conferences irrespective of whether they are transparent about the funding. This year the Conservative Party conference was overrun by fringe events and private drinks hosted by organisations like the Institute of Economic Affairs and Policy Exchange, neither of which declared its funders. Open Democracy has approached Labour for comment. This was obviously a couple of days ago, but at the time I've still yet to have heard anything, but obviously that can change, guys. Also, I have covered in the past as well a video about how there are certain private companies being hosted at part of the Labour conference as well, which is such as weapons manufacturers. I believe it's a weapons arms deals, and some other private companies which are rightly should be questioned. However, at the same time, I also think that Labour are trying to keep certain influences happy in order to give themselves the best chance of getting into power. I think that's the kind of the catch-22 that we're seeing here. But this Adam Smith Institute, if what this is saying about them is true, then obviously it's a very dangerous organisation and we don't want them having any influence in the Labour Party. But that doesn't mean they're not the only ones who are going to try and get influence in the Labour Party. And unfortunately, if you're an MP, not money can be put on the table for you to work for them, and we've seen it happen with the Conservatives. It can happen with Labour if they're not careful. So it is a cause for concern, that is for sure, guys. So obviously we'll have to wait and see, but what do you honestly guys think of this story about the Adam Smith Institute? Do you honestly think they will have an influence in the Labour Party? Perhaps there are other organisations that we know about that already have influence in the Labour Party. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of all this. Like, share and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.